Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and this is more of a discussion thing and a little bit about my thoughts, and we are going to be talking about this comment. Harvest will become core as part of 3.13, but in a slightly different form. So, 3.13, that means that the next league, they are somehow implementing Harvest. I've thought a lot about this, since Harvest was a league that I quite enjoyed, and I was like, should it be core? Shouldn't it be core? And for me personally, I decided that I didn't really mind either way. So the way I looked at it was whatever makes the most amount of people happy, right? Like if 70% didn't want it to be core, I'd be like, don't bring it core then. Like, I don't care. I'm happy either way. So Harvest, for those of you who didn't play the league, it was super deterministic crafting where it was very, very easy to make perfect items. Even in solo self-found, I was able to do like a int stacking power siphon wander, which is ridiculously hard. Is this a bad thing? Not necessarily. I mean, there's pros and cons to either way, right? It just depends on what do you want the game to be. Like, how do you want the game to be played? For a lot of people, they want everything to be like fairly difficult, a challenge, or very RNG based. A lot of people don't like deterministic crafting and want that like special feeling of identifying or rolling, right? It's not really crafting what we have in Path of Exile right now. It is just RNG. It's completely random. And a lot of people want that, right? That's what they want in an action role-playing game, that they want to be hack and slash, kill monsters, pop, 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 and then identify or, casino roll good items. Whereas Harvest was very, very strategic, deterministic, and it was like, okay, I want this stat, I want that stat, and then I can make this stat. For a lot of people, it ended up being that, well, I managed to do my character perfect. I guess I'll quit PoE and wait for the next league. For other people, and I probably fell into this category, I was like, holy shit, I can do so many different builds on solo self-found now that I've never been able to do before. And that was very exciting for me. I really enjoyed like how much freedom I had. I could basically do any build and I would probably be able to craft good enough gear that build was good. So like gear was no longer a limiting factor. And obviously it was probably too easy in Harvest. That's what this video is going to be about. My approach is, since now it is going core, but in a different form, I want to talk a little bit about how would I want Harvest to go core. There's a couple of different ways. First off, I don't think anyone really enjoyed the seed mechanic, like finding seeds, planting them and growing them and building a garden. I think very, very few people liked that. That's not what most people are looking for in an action role-playing game, I'd say. And I base that also just a lot of feedback that I've seen, like reading. Obviously, Path of Exile is my life, so it's pretty much all I do. But obviously, I can't speak for everyone there. However, the way I would implement it, there's a couple of ways. First off, there's room for more things in Delve. Also, might as well say, I feel Delve should be a standalone endgame, and I feel like, in my opinion, we need more standalone endgames. I wish we had like different things to choose from. Like, I don't really like maps. I don't feel like mapping today. I'll do a whole day of delving, or I would do a whole day of like the Beyond world or heist, right? Like, I would love more like standalone things, not things like completely reliant, or I feel like everything is too closely tied to mapping. So like, no matter what, that is the main thing you need to do. But on that note, what if there were patches of Harvest similar to the way you have abyssal cities right now, where you would have 5 or 6 nodes? Well, maybe you'll find 5 or 6 Harvest patches where you can travel between them like you would abyssal cities. You get to them, it's just completely random what beasts are planted there and are fully grown, and you fight them and you get different crafts. And obviously they can be dangerous, and you can die. As far as like preserving crafts, I'm not sure if that's needed. There's pros and cons to, oh, you don't have anything like in your stash that you want to craft. That is really unfortunate, but this is the craft you have right now. There's also the alternative that maybe one per harvest field, or one per like node, you can like save 1 or 2 crafts and it goes straight into your crafting bench. I think that's a little bit too strong. And I think that is part of what should like limit the factor. Like, can you save them? If so, it needs to be weaker. And if it's only things that you have with you in your stash, at least, they can go, add out to your stash. But you can't like hold it for like 10 days. Then that should be part of what would limit the power of this. And speaking of the power of it, I think one of the most, at least the most powerful part for me, was how easy it would interact with influence modifiers. Being able to force Crusader Explosion on a chest, being able to force the Tailwind on boots, things like that was way too strong. I would rather see that basically all influence modifiers just didn't have a tag, or that their tag was, it's an influence modifier. You want to get +1 chaos gems? Well, it's an influence modifier. You can't just augment chaos. I think like that part in particular was too strong. So I would like to see all the influence modifiers not be tied to like chaos or critical or physical. I think that's the really good solution there. Augments were probably fine, like augment fire or swapping the resists. Those were really cool. I think a lot of people particularly enjoyed the resist swapping. I think being like the remove like non-fire and remove fire, the fact that you could like perfect items or like change tiers so easily, that was also maybe a little bit too strong. So probably in my ideal world, for what I think would be still really good and deterministic crafting in some way, but not as powerful, would be that you don't have the remove and add, and the remove none and then add as fire. Maybe those are fine to keep, like the remove non-chaos, add chaos. Those might be okay. But the ones where like remove fire, add fire, and you could just spam those infinitely until you get the highest tier, those were probably a little bit too strong in my opinion. Playing around with like the removes and stuff was definitely what made it so easy. Because in several items, I was like, okay, I'll add chaos here temporarily to block that prefix. And then I'll like add a fire and remove the chaos later and then add another spellcaster mod. The fact that you could just like use other mods as placeholders to block things out, it made it like a little bit too strong there. And that's pretty much all I would want from the power of them. And there is an alternative place you can put them as well. You can put them in maps. But again, like maps, in my opinion, are very like, they're very full. There's a lot of maps there. But you could just have that like, Oshabi's like, sup y'all, Oshabi here. You want to come into my garden and kill some beasts? Again, like, I feel like the collecting seeds, planting seeds, and growing your garden, terrible. I think they need to be like pre-built. Like they just need to, you need to, if you want it in a different area, that's fine. You go into like the garden, there's loads of plants there. They're already fully grown. Maybe sometimes Oshabi's like, I'm ready to fight you. Right? Like, I think the Oshabi fight's really cool and should stay in the game as well as her unique items. And a lot of the things from Harvest were very cool, and I think it's important to keep a lot of them in the game. I think the most fun part for me that I thought like added the most to my experience, and that like I love gambling, was the flipping div cards. I thought that was super cool, especially as a solo self-found player. The fact that I could, you know, like maybe find one 6th Link Divination card, right? You know, maybe you could find one Doctor, and if you got lucky enough, if you beat the odds, yeah, you have a Headhunter. Or yeah, you have a 6th Link early on. Like, that was really cool. I very, very much enjoyed the gambling of the 50-50. Like, how many times can you win a coin flip? Even if they made it worse RNG, that would be fine too. What if it's a 25% chance or a 30% chance? The odds are against you, but you can do it. Like, I really like that. That's games like this to me. Like, you're winning the insane odds. That makes it exciting. But yeah, I think there's like quite a lot they can do here with Harvest. And like I said, I really don't mind if it goes in or not. I'm enjoying the game either way. Definitely is a very, very big difference in power. It's probably the biggest power spike we've ever had. Like, I never had characters like I had on Harvest. They were insane. Some of them were going around like just right clicking, like tapping with Blade Blast and just like, oh, dead, dead, dead. Oh, boss, dead. It was very, very insane. So that's how I feel about it. Like, remove some of the like really strong stuff and give us slightly more deterministic crafting, but don't let us like perfect items super easily. Again, that depends. The power also depends with how common or rare they want it to be. Maybe Harvest is going to be something like you encounter once every 3 days, and you're like, oh, this is such an experience. Oh, it's such an exciting event, right? It's rare. I get to like really, really like perfect some items here. And another thing that is important to note about Harvest is it is sort of punishing for new players, or at least newer players, and it does require a lot of knowledge of how roles work and stuff like that, other than just chaos spamming. like somebody that does have a lot of knowledge of like the tags and the different item types and stuff is going to benefit so much more from this than somebody that's new and it's like, add fire. Cool. I play a fire skill. Yes, I'll add fire here. I didn't get what I wanted. Whereas, you know, a new player is like, ooh, add fire. I can get exactly the role I want on this item. It's the only role left. So there's a huge difference there. It's always going to benefit no-lifers, no matter what you do. The number one priority for whatever you add to Path of Exile, it needs to be, are the players enjoying it and are they having fun? Can't really balance that around the 1%. It's never going to work. That's my like TLDR and the thoughts of Harvest going core. Again, this is not the right opinion. This is not the only opinion. So, and I would love to see your guys' opinion. Like, I want to see, like, I fucking hate Harvest. I don't want it to go core. Here's why. I fucking love Harvest. I wanted to go core, but I wanted to be way stronger than what you just said. Like, I would love to see your guys' opinion. And that might change mine. So, see you guys in the comments. Thanks for watching. And try to die less than I do.